Capricorn, I've been sitting with your energy for 2026, and God, there's so much I need to tell you about what's coming in love. And I know you don't like when people talk about love like it's this fluffy thing because you're practical, you're realistic, you think love should make sense. But 2026 is going to teach you that sometimes the things that make the least sense are exactly what you need. And I'm not saying that to be poetic or whatever. I'm saying it because I keep seeing this pattern for you, and it's actually kind of beautiful if you let it be. Let me just start from the beginning because there's a lot and I want to make sure you understand what's actually happening here. January starts and you're probably not even thinking about love. You're thinking about work, goals, what you want to accomplish this year, that promotion you're going after, or that business you want to start, or whatever mountain you've decided to climb in 2026. And that's so you. That's so Capricorn. You wake up on January 1st and you're not thinking about romance. You're thinking about spreadsheets and 5-year plans and how to optimize your life. But here's the thing. Around January 9th or 10th, maybe it's the 11th, I'm not totally sure on the exact date, but it's early January. Something shifts. You're going to have this moment where you look around at your life and you realize you've built a lot. You've accomplished things. You have the career, or you're working toward it. You have the stability. You have your shit together more than most people. But you're alone. And I don't mean alone like you don't have friends or family. I mean alone in that way that hits you at like 9 p.m. on a Tuesday when you're eating dinner by yourself for the 5th night in a row, and you realize there's no one to tell about your day. No one who cares that you finally figured out that problem at work, or that you're worried about that thing coming up next week. You're successful and stable and responsible and lonely. And for Capricorn, admitting that is hard, because you've told yourself for so long that you don't need anyone, that you're fine on your own, that relationships are just distractions from what really matters. But January 2026 is when you finally admit, maybe you do want someone. Maybe success feels empty when there's no one to share it with. Now, I need to tell you something about February because this is where it gets interesting. You're not going to just suddenly become open to love. That's not how you work. You don't do anything halfway and you don't do anything without a plan. So what you're probably going to do in February is you're going to approach dating like a project. I can see you doing this. You're going to download the apps, or you're going to tell your friends you're open to being set up, or you're going to join that hiking group or book club or whatever. And you're going to have this checklist in your head. This person needs to be ambitious, financially stable, emotionally mature, have their life together. You're going to date like you're interviewing for a position. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to go on some dates in February, maybe 3, maybe 5, and they're going to be fine. The people are going to check boxes. They have good jobs, they seem responsible, they show up on time, but there's no spark. And you're going to tell yourself that's okay, because relationships should be built on compatibility, not chemistry, on shared goals, not butterflies. You're going to try to logic your way into feeling something, but around February 23rd or 24th, you're going to go on a date with someone who doesn't fit your checklist at all. Maybe a friend sets you up and you almost cancel because they don't sound like your type. Or maybe you match with someone on the app and their profile doesn't scream stable future partner, but something about their message makes you say yes anyway. And this date is different. They show up and they're not what you expected. Maybe they're an artist or a teacher, or they work in some field you don't totally understand. Maybe they're a few years younger than you wanted, or they don't have a traditional career path, or they still have roommates or something that would normally make you say no immediately. But when you sit down and start talking, there's something there. They make you laugh. Like really laugh. Not polite laughter, not professional networking laughter, but the kind of laughing where you forget to be composed. And they ask you questions that aren't on your script. Not what do you do for work, but what do you do for fun? And you realize You don't really have a good answer to that. When was the last time you did something just for fun? And this person, they're talking about their life and their dreams, and yeah, maybe they're not as financially stable as you'd like, or maybe their 5-year plan is less detailed than yours, but they're happy. They have this lightness about them that you haven't felt in yourself in years. I need to pause here because I want to make sure you're really hearing this. The person you're going to meet, and I keep seeing late February as significant, but it could bleed into early March. This person is not going to fit your plan. They're going to challenge everything you thought you wanted in a partner, and your first instinct is going to be to run. To say thank you for a nice evening and then never text them back and go back to dating people who make sense on paper. But I'm really asking you, Capricorn, don't do that. Don't run from something just because it scares you, because what scares you about this person isn't that they're wrong for you, it's that they might be right for you in ways you weren't expecting. March. Okay, so let's say you didn't run. Let's say you texted them back. Let's say you went on a second date and then a third. March is going to be confusing for you because you're used to being in control. You're used to knowing exactly what you're doing and why and where it's going. But with this person, you don't know. You don't know if this is going to work long term. You don't know if they're serious about you. You don't know if you're wasting your time, and that uncertainty is going to make you want to pull back. Around March 15th, maybe it's the 14th or 16th, but mid-March, you're going to have a moment where you almost end it. You're going to start listing all the reasons why this doesn't make sense, why you should be with someone more like you, someone with a 401k and a career trajectory and their shit together. But here's what I need you to understand. You've been with people who had their shit together before, or you've dated people who seemed perfect on paper, and it didn't work. Not because they weren't good people, but because having your life together doesn't mean you know how to love someone. This person you're seeing, they might not have everything figured out professionally or financially, but they know how to be present. They know how to make time for you even when they're busy. They remember the little things you tell them, they ask how your day was, and they actually listen to the answer. And isn't that what you actually need? Someone who sees you not as a project or a partner who checks boxes, but as a person who deserves to be loved. Quiet. March 28th. I keep seeing this date as important. You're going to have a conversation. Maybe it's late at night after you've been out to dinner, or maybe it's over coffee on a weekend morning, and they're going to ask you something like, "Where is this going? What are we doing?" And you're going to panic a little bit because you still don't have a clear answer. But instead of giving you an ultimatum or getting upset, they're going to say something that changes everything. They're going to say, "I'm not asking you to have it all figured out. I just want to know if you're willing to figure it out with me." And that's when you realize you've been so focused on finding the right person that you forgot that love is actually about choosing to build something with someone. It's not about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone you want to try with. So you say yes. You say, "I don't know where this is going, but I want to find out." And that's terrifying for you, but it's also the most honest thing you've said in months. April through June. This is the period where you're actually in it. You're in a relationship. Not casually dating, not keeping your options open, but actually committed to someone. And it's going to bring up so much stuff for you because you haven't really been in a serious relationship in how long? A year? 2 years? Longer? You've been so focused on building your life that you forgot how to let someone into it. So April is going to be awkward. You're going to have to learn how to make space for someone else. How to consider another person's schedule when making plans. How to compromise on things you're used to just deciding for yourself. Like, they want to come over on a weeknight, but you have work early the next morning. Or they want to go to this event that sounds boring to you, but it's important to them. Or they cook differently than you do, or they load the dishwasher wrong, or they have some habit that drives you a little crazy. And you're going to think, is this worth it? Is this what I signed up for? But then, around April 19th or 20th, somewhere in there, They're going to do something that makes you realize why you're doing this. Maybe you have a really bad day at work. Like a really bad day. The kind where you come home and you don't even want to talk about it. You just want to be alone. And they just know somehow. They don't push you to talk. They don't try to fix it. They order your favorite food, or they draw you a bath, or they put on that show you like, and they sit with you. And you realize, oh, this is what it feels like to have a partner. Not someone who's there for the good times, but someone who shows up when things are hard. Someone who doesn't need you to be strong and composed and perfect all the time. May is going to test you in a different way, because this person, they're going to want to meet your family or your close friends, the people who know you, and you're going to resist at first, because what if they don't fit in? What if your family asks those questions about what they do for a living, and they don't have the impressive answer you're used to giving? What if introducing them makes this real in a way you're not ready for, but you're going to do it anyway? Probably around May 10th. Could be a weekend, could be a holiday, I'm not sure. But you're going to bring them to some family thing or friend gathering, and you're going to be so nervous. But then your mum or your sister or your best friend, someone who knows you really well, they're going to pull you aside at some point, and they're going to say, I've never seen you like this. You're going to ask what they mean, and they're going to say, happy, relaxed, like you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders for once, and you're going to realize they're right. This person makes you lighter, not in a way that makes you less responsible or less driven, but in a way that reminds you that life isn't just about achieving and building and climbing. Sometimes it's okay to just be. June is going to bring the L word, and I don't know who says it first. It might be you, it might be them, but it's going to happen around June 22nd or 23rd, late June for sure. And here's the thing about Capricorn saying, I love you. You don't say it unless you mean it. You don't throw those words around casually. So when you say it, or when they say it and you say it back, it's a commitment. It's you saying, I'm all in. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. And that's huge for you because you don't choose things lightly. You don't commit to things you're not sure about. So saying I love you is basically you saying, I've done the analysis and the risk assessment, and yeah, there are uncertainties, and yeah, this person doesn't fit my original plan, but I love them anyway. I love them because of who they are, not because of who I thought I needed them to be. Now, I need to talk about summer because this is where things get real. July and August are going to be intense. Not in a bad way necessarily, but intense. Because once you've said I love you, once you've committed, the next question becomes, what does the future look like? And for Capricorn, you can't just be in love and not think about the future. You need to know where this is going. So around July 12th, mid-July, you're going to start having those conversations about moving in together eventually, about whether you want marriage, about kids or no kids, about where you see yourselves in 5 years. And this is where the differences between you and this person might become more obvious, because you have a plan. You've always had a plan, but they're more go with the flow. They think about the future, but they don't obsess over it the way you do. And that's going to frustrate you. You're going to think, how can you love someone who doesn't think about these things the way you do? But here's what July is going to teach you. Not everyone shows love by planning. Some people show love by being present, by enjoying right now instead of always thinking about later. And maybe you could learn something from that. Maybe you could let yourself be a little less rigid about how the future has to look. August is going to bring a challenge. I'm not trying to scare you, but I need to be honest about what I'm seeing. Around August 8th or 9th, early August, something is going to happen that makes you question everything. Maybe it's an argument, a big one, about something that actually matters. Maybe it's about money, or maybe they make a decision about their career that you don't understand. Or maybe they say something that makes you realize you want different things. I don't know exactly what it is, but You're going to think about ending it. You're going to think, this is exactly why I should have stuck with someone more like me. This is exactly what I was afraid of. And you're going to pull back. You're going to get cold and distant and logical. You're going to start building walls again. But here's what I need you to know. Every relationship has this moment. The moment where you realize this person is not perfect. And this relationship is going to take work. And maybe it would be easier to just walk away. But easy isn't always right. Around August 20th, late August, they're going to call you on it. They're going to say, you're running, you're shutting down, and I need to know if you're in this or not. And you're going to have to make a choice. Are you going to do what you always do, protect yourself by leaving before you can get hurt, or are you going to stay and fight for this? I think you're going to stay. I think you're going to realize that this person, they're different from you, and sometimes that's hard, but they make you better. They balance you. Where you're all structure, their spontaneity. Where you're planning, their presence. Where you're fear, their faith. And you need that. You need someone who reminds you that control is an illusion and life is messy and that's okay. So you apologize. You tell them you were scared. You tell them you're not used to this, to needing someone, to not having all the answers. And they forgive you. Because they knew what they were getting into when they fell in love with a Capricorn. They knew you'd be stubborn and guarded and sometimes impossible, but they chose you anyway. September and October are going to be the rebuilding phase. After the August fight, or whatever it was, you're going to be more intentional about this relationship. You're going to actually work on being more open, on communicating instead of shutting down, on letting them in even when it's uncomfortable, and they're going to work on understanding you better, on being patient with your process, on not taking it personally when you need space. Around September 15th, mid-September, you might do something you've never done before. You might take a trip together, like a real trip, not a weekend thing, but a week or more. And traveling with someone is when you really see them, when you see how they handle stress and delays and things not going according to plan. And you're going to see that this person, they don't panic. They don't get upset when things go wrong. They just adapt. And you're going to think, I want to be more like that. I want to be someone who can roll with it instead of needing everything to be perfect. October is going to bring a shift in how you think about your future, because up until now, you've had this vision of what your life should look like, the career, the house, the timeline for everything. But this person has shown you that maybe life doesn't have to follow a script. Maybe it's okay to want things you didn't plan for, to choose paths that don't make perfect sense, to prioritize love even when it's inconvenient. Around October 28th, late October, you're going to have a conversation with them about something big. Maybe it's about moving in together for real, not eventually, but like in the next few months. Or maybe it's about one of you making a career change that affects both of you. Or maybe it's just about saying out loud, I see a future with you, a real future. And that's going to feel scary, but also right. More right than anything you've planned on your own has felt in a long time. November and December. This is when you start actually building that future. November is going to be practical. You're good at practical. You're going to start making actual plans. Looking at apartments together or talking about finances or meeting each other's families for real, not just casual introductions. And for the first time, you're not doing it out of obligation or because it's the next logical step. You're doing it because you want to, because you can't imagine not having this person in your life. Around November 18th, mid to late November, something is going to happen that confirms this is right. Maybe it's Thanksgiving or some holiday gathering, and you bring them and watching them with your family it clicks. You can see it. You can see them in your life, not just for now, but for years from now. Or maybe it's something smaller. Maybe you're both doing mundane stuff like grocery shopping or putting together furniture, and you just look at them and think, yeah, this is what I want. Not the big romantic moments, but the small, everyday ones. Someone to build a life with. December is going to end the year on such a different note than how you started it. Because remember January? When you were alone and focused on work and maybe a little bit lonely but telling yourself you were fine, by December you're going to be in a completely different place. You're going to be in love, like really in love, the kind of love that changes you. Around December 20th, late December, you might even start thinking about, God, I can't believe I'm saying this. But you might start thinking about ring shopping or proposals, or at least having that conversation about engagement. Not because you're rushing. Capricorn doesn't rush anything. But because when you know, you know. And you know that this person, they're it for you. They're the person you want to wake up next to. The person you want to tell about your day. The person you want to build all those dreams with. The person who makes success feel sweeter because you have someone to share it with. I need to tell you something before I finish this. 2026 is going to teach you that love doesn't have to make perfect sense to be right. You've spent so much of your life trying to control everything, trying to plan everything, trying to make sure nothing catches you off guard. But love is inherently uncontrollable. You can't plan who you fall for. You can't predict when it will happen. You can't guarantee it will work out. And that's terrifying for you. But it's also the most beautiful thing, because choosing to love someone despite all the uncertainty, choosing to build a life with someone even though you can't control every outcome, that's the bravest thing you can do. And Capricorn, you're braver than you think. You've climbed mountains in your career. You've overcome obstacles. You've built a life for yourself from scratch. You can do this too. You can let someone in. You can let yourself be vulnerable. You can admit that you don't have all the answers. And you can trust that love, real love, is worth the risk. So here's what I need you to remember as you go into 2026. The person you meet, they might not be who you expected. They might not fit your checklist. They might challenge everything you thought you wanted. Let them. Let them show you that there's more to life than achievement, that there's more to partnership than compatibility on paper, that there's more to love than logic. Don't run when it gets hard. Don't shut down when you're scared. Don't convince yourself that being alone is easier. Because yes, being alone is easier, it's safer, it's more controlled. But it's lonelier than you want to admit. And you deserve more than that. You deserve someone who sees you, who appreciates not just what you've accomplished, but who you are underneath all of that. Someone who makes you laugh and challenges you to be more present and reminds you that it's okay to not be perfect all the time. You deserve that kind of love, and in 2026, you're going to find it, not because you searched for it perfectly or because you followed all the right steps, but because you finally opened yourself up to the possibility, because you finally admitted that you want it, and that admission, that vulnerability, that's what's going to change everything. One more thing before I go. There's going to be a moment, probably in late spring or early summer, where you're lying in bed next to this person and you're going to have this thought. You're going to think, a year ago, I never could have imagined this. I never could have imagined being this happy. And you're going to feel grateful, not just for this person, but for every difficult thing that led you here, every heartbreak that taught you what you don't want, every lonely night that made you realize what you do want. All of it was leading you to this person, to this love, to this version of yourself that's strong enough to be soft, that's successful enough to prioritize connection over achievement, that's independent enough to choose interdependence. So yeah, Capricorn 2026, love, it's not going to be what you planned, but it's going to be exactly what you need. Trust the process, trust the timing, trust yourself, and most importantly, trust that you're worthy of a love that doesn't make perfect sense but feels perfectly right. Because you are. You absolutely are. Okay, I think that's everything I needed to tell you. If you're Capricorn and you're listening to this, I hope something here resonated. I hope you feel seen. I hope you feel hopeful. And I hope that when that person shows up, the one who doesn't fit your plan but fits you perfectly, I hope you say yes. I hope you take the risk, because the best things in life, they're never the safe choices. They're the scary ones. The ones that make your hands shake when you sign the lease together, or say, I love you, or start imagining a future you didn't plan. Those are the ones worth it. That's all I have for you tonight. Sleep well, Capricorn, and get ready. 2026 is going to change your life.